What'd you think of the Panthers draft? Well, start getting them ready. At 3:30, we'll be taking your calls. Start getting your takes and opinions and questions ready. And I am as deep a draft nerd as there are that exists. Here's my official take. I've worked on it. I've fine-tuned it for the Panthers draft. I love the plan. Don't necessarily agree with the execution, but that could be a good thing. They should be better than me at certain things involving the draft. Right? I love the positions they took. And I love the investments they made at different parts of their roster throughout the draft. And I love the archetypes. I love the types of players. I'll explain what I mean by that as we go along. I don't always agree with the player. Sometimes I'm like, oh, you took that edge, I would have taken this edge. Oh, you took that running back, I would have taken this running back. So, it's not like we're in lockstep, but also you have a staff of people watching every single player for hours and hours and hours, and I fit in watching highlights when I can. So, if we agreed, then you're doing a lot of extra work, right? You're doing too much. For example, right at the top, right? Tetaroa McMillan, wide receiver, Arizona. I've been saying from the entirety of the offseason, I think they need a number one wide receiver, right? I was in on the T. Higgins moves. I was in on maybe a Brandon Ayuk move if it was the right price. I was in on number one wide receiver moves. I think McMillan is very much a full boom or bust wide receiver, so I'm not sure if that would be my ideal number one wide receiver to fill. But again, they might think he's near foolproof, right? That we can disagree on prospect evaluations. That's okay. I like the plan. I like getting Bryce Young a number one wide receiver. Then going second round, Nick Scourton, the edge from Texas A&M. Third round, Prince Umanmielen. All right. Got the nod from Dennis on the pronunciation. Been working on that too. The edge from Ole Miss. I love that they prioritized edge rusher with back-to-back picks in the second and third round. Love it. And these are guys who physically, you look at their measurables, there's nothing about them that doesn't say they should be able to play and contribute right away. And the Panthers are a team that need guys that can play and can contribute right away. Here's Dan Morgan. Almost. What I will say is just we had some tech difficulties there. Dan Morgan said that as much, right? Me and him agree on that. Right? These are guys that can make an impact right away. Now, if we're nitpicking, in the second round, Mike Green was still available. Now, if it was the off-the-field red flags that pushed them away from Mike Green, I'm all good on passing on him. Obviously, I don't have the background checks and all of the investigations that go into a couple of very serious off-the-field allegations.
A lot of teams passed on him.
And the Ravens ended up scooping him up later on. If that's what made them pass, cool. Like I'm never going to argue with a team that takes that seriousness, does their research, and is uncomfortable. I would have liked Oladejo from UCLA a bit more as an athletic edge rusher, like he was a former off-ball backer that can run a bit more, so you'd think he would be a better pass rusher. Meanwhile, Scourton is more power-based, big, strong dude, which the Panthers value a ton. Right, they're about. If there's anything we've learned this offseason, they're about stopping the run. Right, so me saying like I want someone that can get after the quarterback, and they're going like, well, we want someone that can get after the quarterback and also be extremely stout against the run. That's a disagreement of taste, not a disagreement of quality. And now we do have the soundbite from Dan Morgan. Good work by Dennis there, getting it up and running. Here he is talking about the two edge rushers in the second and third round being ready to contribute.
They're two guys that we think very highly of. They can get to the quarterback, they can play the run, and they can do all the things that we're going to ask them to do. So yeah, we're just super excited, and didn't think we'd be able to get both of them. So to be able to capitalize and trade up and get these guys, we're just super excited about it.
I don't have any issues with the Uman Mielan. Try that one again. Edge from Ole Miss. I just love them prioritizing edge on back-to-back picks, realizing that they didn't have a one-person hole at that part of their roster. They had a multiple athlete area that they needed to go solve.
And Nick Scorton, by the way, Mike Kay of the Charlotte Observer pointed this out. I didn't realize this. He doesn't turn 21 until late August. Late August. He's going to be playing in preseason games when he's 20 years old still.
And I don't know what this means about the player, but I think it means something about his preparation and his take serious level. He played some games reportedly up around 280 pounds. He was at the combine doing some workouts down in under 260, which, again, I don't know if that says anything about his athletic ability, but to me, that means in preparation for the combine, he and his agent and his trainers set a goal, and he was able to be prepared for it. I hate guys that show up at the combine, and we're still saying like, well, they can put on weight. I'm going like, no, they prioritize it, get it done. He did what he had to do. So I like the person of that. If I disagree with a pick, as much as I disagree with a pick, it is ironically the one that you'd think I agree with the most. ETN in the fourth. Dennis, how often have we been saying we want a running back in the fourth? It just kind of fits.
Yeah, fourth or fifth, yeah.
He would not be the guy I would go with. Lack of production. I don't think he has the top end speed. There were other guys I like more on the board. Jaden Blue out of Texas was still on the board. Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee was still on the board. If you're going to go with a guy that doesn't have great top end speed, I think someone like Woody Marks out of USC would have been a better fit as far as complementing Chuba Hubbard. But I mean, I wanted a running back in the fourth, and they came through with the 12th pick of the fourth round with a running back. Again, agreeing with the plan, maybe not as much the execution. Lathan Ransom, safety, Ohio State, later on in the fourth, the 20th pick of the fourth round. Love the pick. And this is what I meant when I said, like, the archetype. We wanted, or at least I wanted, a safety from a big school that had played in big games, that will not have his eyes, wide as saucers if he's asked to play early, right? I think there's a good chance Ransom is your day one or early in the season. They're depending on him to play a whole bunch of snaps in that defensive backfield. Well, he came from Ohio State, where he just played in all of the biggest games you can play in, right? He played in the national championship and won it. Now, again, maybe a bit more of a physical safety when I would have preferred the center fielder of a safety to pair with Trayvon Moehrig, who's going to be able to bring the physicality in spades, their big free agency acquisition. But he's a big-time player that's played in big games. I'm not going to complain about that. Beyond that, it was, I mean, when you get to the fifth, sixth rounds, it's whatever falls to you, right? You're just looking at your board and trying to find value. Cam Jackson, the defensive tackle from Florida, don't know a ton about him, right? Fifth-round picks are going to be a little bit more mysterious to the pre-draft.
Big dude,
run stopping, right? That's everything I read. And Panthers seem to prioritize stopping the run.
He's the perfect backup to Bobby Brown. They signed him free agency. Nose tackle that can just plug the middle of the line.
And if either of them are able to occupy two blockers, that means guys like Derrick Brown, that means some of these bigger dudes on the edge that they just drafted are having the opportunity to win one-on-one. So, I mean, that's what the big dudes on, especially nose tackles, are doing, right? You're trying to take a guard and a center with you and don't move. Mitchell Evans, tight end from Notre Dame. I think he needs to be a better blocker for me to love this pick. But, Dennis, you want to hear your favorite stat?
Go on.
As soon as I saw this, I went, oh, this is Dennis's guy. Every time we talked combine, and I don't even know if you realize this, but you bring up one particular number a ton.
10-yard split?
Yes. Do you know who had the quickest 10-yard split amongst all tight ends at the combine?
Mitchell Evans.
Yeah. I went, oh, this is Dennis's guy. They gave up Ian Thomas, and they brought in Mitchell Evans. I was like, that's exactly what Dennis wanted.
Already an upgrade.
But he does lack long speed, right? For as quick as he was in the first 10, middle of the pack in the 40. So to me, you're going to end up being a, short route guy and a blocker, right? And you let Jadeveon Sanders maybe do some of the more downfield seam stuff. But if he develops into a better blocker, first of all, it's a fifth-round pick. I think it was the 27th pick of the fifth round. You're not going to get somebody without something he has to work on. If he develops into a bigger and better blocker, love this pick. And then Jimmy Horn Jr., wide receiver, Colorado. Ran a 4.46. Would have loved to have seen a little bit faster because I just think that offense needs speed in bucketfuls. But I don't want to talk about Shedeur Sanders a ton today. My number one thing watching Shedeur Sanders tape was goodness his wide receivers are good.
Yeah.
And that was Travis Hunter, and that was Jimmy Horn, and that was Wester and Shepard and all of these guys. So I like the Jimmy Horn pick, and he's a good punt returner, which is always great to find value until they can work their way into contributing on the offense. So I like the draft. Don't love all the players, but I like the draft.
Give me a grade.
B+.
Okay. I said A-.
B+. With their planning, like an A+. Right? It's just, you're never. I'm nitpicky, right? I go in with very specific expectations. I'm hard to please. B+ is, I think, pretty darn good.